And we are live.
Okay.
What's up, everybody? I'm Sean,
And I'm Kenya.
and we are taken for ransom. Welcome back again for another episode of The Love Project. We have another amazing married couple with us. We have Shanice and Anthony Bogle. Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
How are you on this wonderful Monday afternoon?
We are doing
We're
great.
blessed. We're blessed.
Just a little bit tired, but it's been a long day, but we're doing good. We're doing. How are you
Absolutely.
Us
guys?
as well.
We're doing good.
We're
That's
tired just like you are. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourselves, where you're from, and what do you do?
Okay. Who wants to go first? Okay, I'll go first. So my name is Shanice Layla Bogle. Ah, what do I do? At my heart's core, I am a trauma and relationship coach. I'm also an educator. I am a four times author. I'm a mental health advocate. I am a wife to this handsome gentleman here. I'm a mother to two beautiful girls.
Oh, wow.
I'm also a child of the king. I'm Christian faith based business owner. I also am the founder of a suicide prevention organization called Will to Live Jamaica Foundation. And I also serve as an educator. So, where are we from? We're from Jamaica, but we live in the United States. We've been living here for about 4 years,
Mhm.
thereabout. Um, and we've just been serving God's people in the capacity of international speakers and also trauma and relationship coaching. So that is what on my side.
Beautiful. Well, my name is Anthony Bogle. As Shanice said, I'm her husband. We've been married for 10 years.
Wow.
We have
Yes.
two beautiful daughters. Um, I am right now I'm an entrepreneur and also a part of, as my wife said, the movement of MBS. Um, I was normally in the background, but I decided to come out in the front to kind of bring that balance to the whole thing because women are not the only people that are going through stuff.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And as you know, like men, they don't really talk about, they don't really share much. And so I kind of, you know, came forward to kind of help to bring that balance to the whole thing. And it's been beautiful so far. Um, yeah, and I love the Lord. I've been walking with the Lord basically 10 years also. And yeah, it's been good. That's pretty much, my part.
Awesome. It sounds like you two are very well grounded and well rounded as well. So
And
tell us how you guys met. How'd you meet? How'd the whole marriage come about? What happened?
Okay, so I'll start first, given how things played out. So, um, I was actually talking to a young man, a church brother at the time, when I realized that that church brother was not going to be my husband.
Wow.
So my friend, my close friend, was actually there, and she was excited about the relationship and what it could have been and where it looked like it was going. And in that moment, while the three of us stood there that night at church, I remember when the Lord, I know that, prophetic people some call it open vision, but I saw this tall, um, slim built gentleman, neat, like bending over a hospital bed, giving a baby a kiss. And when I was watching this thing play out, and I saw myself in the bed, and this gentleman is kissing the baby. And it was not the gentleman that I was talking to at the
Mm.
time. And I pulled my friend to the side and I said, "It's not him. I saw who it was going to be. It's not him." And over time, naturally, when we became married and we had our first child, that the same scene played out in the hospital.
Mm.
Wow.
So I used to tell him all the time that I met you before in the spiritual realm before I met you physically, because I could see his build, his height, his body structure, and his same demeanor, the same feel I got off the person. Spiritually, when I saw him first, it was the same feel, same demeanor, same structure, same person that I actually ended up meeting. And that was how I could tell, okay, this one would not have been
Wow.
the one. So at that time, fast forward to and this was when I was in high school. This was when
Wow.
I was in high school. I saw him when I was in high school. And we
I was
actually
still thinking about Tupac in high school.
so this was in high school, and then eventually we met in a group chat before I left high school to go to university. We met in a group chat, and I think it was a study group chat for my friends and I, but he came in the group.
You want to tell my story?
Okay.
Right, we got to
All
let
right,
him
so,
tell
so
his side.
You don't want me to tell my story.
okay, so you can tell your part.
Well, for me in the real world, in the physical world, I remember like before I came into the church, I was out there, living my life and having multiple partners and stuff. And I kind of remember one day I was walking from because I left work and I was walking home and I remember saying because even though I wasn't a Christian as yet, I was God fearing. I used to pray and all that type of stuff. So I can remember one day while walking home, I said to myself, Lord, because as I said, being with different people and you kind of know because it wasn't people that I told myself that I would start something, serious with.
Yeah.
And so, walking home, I said to myself, Lord, like I really need somebody that I could build with.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe about a week, I remember we had this thing in Jamaica a couple years ago called, it was like a chat room type thing. It was like an online dating thing that everybody was on. And I can remember one day I decided to join. And in my mind, I was just like putting my information in, like my name. I gave him like a false name and my number. And like, hey, this is I think I called myself Usher at the time.
Ooh, Usher.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah. And so I was like, my name is Usher and I'm this, my age and stuff. And I would get tons of dates, I would get a lot of dates and stuff. And I can remember this night I came home and I did the same thing. And it was a group that she was in. And so I would put my name in and whatever, my number, and I just hopped out. And she was the only one in that group that texts back, hey, why you in this group and saying a bunch of stuff.
I text back to reprimand him to say, how dare you come in our group and keep your information? This is a study group.
but I didn't care. Like I was just trying to meet people,
Right.
Yeah. And so we started to text, back and forth until it became like a close bond friendship. She was living, I think about 40 minutes away at the time.
Yeah, about that.
And so it was kind of hard because I wasn't driving and stuff. So it was kind of hard. So we were just talking over the phone day by day until we decided to meet up. We met for the first time. And I can remember when I left that meeting, I went home and I said to my brother, hey, I think I met my wife. And I would say like we were pretty young at the time. I was like maybe 22 and she was like, I think I was 21. 18. I think he was like 18, 19, something.
Yeah,
like that.
18.
And we parted ways, like because as I said to you, like she was a distance away and I was dating different people and still doing my thing until one day I said, listen, it's not gonna work, and we cut off. And about maybe a year after that, I remember just thinking myself, hey, I'm gonna hit her up. And I texted her, hey, what's up, you good? And so she she invited me to church, and here we are. Like it was pretty much as you said, love at first sight. We and here we are today. pretty
That
much.
is actually
Later.
an amazing story, actually.
Thank you.
And it's not
So,
something that we talk about, to be honest with you, because you know, it's kind of taboo based on how, especially like a church girl. Oh,
Mhm.
you're on a dating app type thing. You meet a
Mhm.
guy on the app, and especially when I started to come to church, you know, so it's kind of on the down low type of thing. We never
Yeah.
really talked about it until, you know, gradually. I think when we got married, we kind of shed a little light
I
on
think
it,
we
but
talked
it
about
was,
it at the wedding.
yeah.
Yeah, we talked about it at the wedding.
well,
But it
We
was
met on Instagram.
Met on
yeah.
Facebook.
It was Instagram first, then we met on Instagram, then we officially talked on Facebook.
Oh, nice. Nice,
Yeah.
nice, nice.
It might have been backwards. We might have met on Facebook and talked on Instagram. I might have got it backwards.
Okay.
It was
Is
still
that
social
the
media.
same version, Kenya?
Say it again.
That's the same version for you?
I guess if he says that's that's what it
It
was.
was
It
social
was
media.
it was social media,
Okay.
but
Facebook, Instagram, MySpace, whichever
all the
one.
same. All the
All the
same.
same.
Now, so how long did you guys date before you got married?
A few
About six,
years,
7 years? About
about
7 years.
because
You said 7?
About 7 years.
Wow.
I had to go through a process. You know,
Yes.
you know, I came into church. She was like, you need to give your, because she was doing a lot of talking. You know, she told me about the Lord
Mhm.
and you know, how to get saved, and you know, she was kind of, you know, bringing me through the
Yeah.
process until one day I was like, you know what, it's time to do this. You know, I would go to church. She would invite me. I would take a taxi over to her side of town, and I go to church, and I come back. I'm partying like, you know, and all that type of stuff. Until one day I was like, you know, this ain't it. Like, this life ain't it. So I remember saying, hey, you know, I have a surprise for you. And so I went to church that Sunday, and she was like, what's the surprise? And I opened my bag, and there was my towel, like, to, you know, because I was ready to get baptized.
Wow.
Yeah, and she was like,
You
yeah.
got baptized on the day of my grandfather's funeral. So my grandfather was in the casket at the front of the church, and he was in the pool getting baptized under the anointing
Oh wow.
Yeah,
with
that's
the
love for real.
with the
That's why.
deceased with the deceased at the front.
And the thing is, like,
Wow.
and for me, like, in that situation, like, I know that there was a God, but at the end of the day, that moment kind of cemented the whole thing in my mind, like, hey, there's truly a God. Because I can remember when I went to the pool, and you know, the deacon told me what to say, and I, you know, he dipped me and came and brought me up, and he used to like this worship, you know,
Mhm.
and I promise you, like, the power of God came down. I was thinking to myself, like, there gotta be some current in this pool. Like, the anointing was
Yeah.
so strong, you know. I was there crying out, you know, and that was it for me. There was no looking back after that.
Wow. That's powerful.
Mhm.
So, what is the hardest thing you two have been through in your marriage?
Oh, the
Well, for me, I would say the hardest thing for me, it was like um understanding her, you know, because
Mhm.
as you know, as she said, like, she's a part of the whole trauma and mental health situation, and
yes.
for that part, she was going through her thing.
Mhm.
You know, and I feel like everybody goes through trauma in their own way. I had my trauma issues because I had family issues, whatever it is. But
Yeah,
especially as a
absolutely.
country that we really didn't, we don't pay a lot of attention to that old aspect of, you know, we're learned to
Counselor.
just suck it up and move on. But I promise you that there's a lot of people that are going through stuff that really don't know. And
Mhm.
so with her, you know, the fact that we got married so young, I feel like she had a lot of trauma issues based on her father leaving and all that type of stuff. Maybe she would talk about it, I don't know. But she had
Yes.
her thing going on, and it was hard for us to connect because
Yeah.
we two different people coming together. And so it was hard to understand her. And so we would fight, we would bicker and cuss and all that type of thing. It never got physical. We just talking,
Mhm.
cussing after we got married because we did not understand how to connect. And I feel like that's why when we talk about love languages, it is so important to learn that person's love
Yeah.
language. But on the other hand, when you have a person that is going through trauma and don't know what is going on, it was a lot.
Mm.
It was a lot to deal with. For me, it was really about that part.
Okay. For me, it was the my past trauma. My father, as he said, left my family, left my mother with the three children, and that separation happened when I was pretty young.
Mm-hmm.
But the hardest part of that was because I had to talk my mother, or be that shoulder for my mother, to face that situation. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't ask me to, nobody asked me to, but I recognize that as the oldest child, I had to now be the savior of the
Yeah.
family, and then I shouldered a responsibility I was not to take on.
Yeah.
Then that produced um, a different version, or a different part stepping out, so that, oh, I have to now be the protector of this family that was abandoned by this man. So by the time I got married, Sean and Kenya, I did not want, or I didn't know how to, one, love a male as a leader, and as a that nurture, well, not nurture, but that love leader in the home. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't appreciate one. I didn't care for one. I was in the space of, how dare he try to come and say, okay, be submitted or be subjected to this kind of love and leadership. And I just didn't know how to love him. I didn't know how to submit to him. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know how to. It would come down to respect his priesthood and his leadership authority in the home as a child of the king. So I was victimized in my space of, oh, I have the right to be cold. I have
Yeah.
the right to be strong headed. I have the right to torment him, because I made up in my mind anybody who I got married to, they were going to face hell, because everything that dad did, this man would be treated coldly for my father.
Wow. That's so like that said a lot. That said a lot. So how did you guys get through that time? Like that was a huge transition, and that's something that's huge that could have probably broke you all.
Oh yeah.
And so how did you guys get through it?
Well, initially we basically, I tell people all the time that I feel like we divorced 40 times already. Because every time there was a disagreement,
Mhm.
I would resort to, then leave.
Mm.
That rejection wound speaking out, then
Yeah,
leave. So
absolutely.
yeah, so before I was rejected, I would present the cards on the table to, oh, leave. If you don't like what's happening, leave. And we before we even get to the beautiful part of it and what's happening now, um, it wouldn't be fair to just present the nice parts, but
Mhm.
we'd have to point out that there were some I can't even find a word, but there were
Mhm.
some terrible years. Terrible years.
Well,
Terrible.
one thing was because in her saying that over and over, because I was the one that always tried to talk it out.
Yeah.
I would try to, I'm very expressive.
Mhm.
My wife can tell you I'm very expressive. So anytime there's a situation, if I look at her and there's something seems off and stuff, I would say, "Hey, you okay? Like you want to
Yeah.
talk about it?" But with her, the thing that stood out to me was the more I made her comfortable, the more I made her feel comfortable and feel safe, she was kind of in that whole bubble, kind of just floating around without
Mhm.
even thinking about, like, hey, are you okay? Like,
Yeah.
are you good? Anthony, are you okay? And so with that whole thing, like when we argued and stuff, and she would bring that same thing up, why not leave? A part of me, the human part of me, kind of came up where I was used to a certain lifestyle, as I said at the beginning. And so
Right.
in my mind, I was like, hey, I feel like I need to get some peace of mind. And so I did went out and um and confided in somebody. I met somebody, and um it was like an emotional attachment type thing
Mhm.
because I wanted to talk. We all know that's still cheating, right?
Mhm.
Um And so that started, we started texting. I was home and texting her behind her back and whatever it is. But the eye opener for that really came when I found myself in a situation where something could have happened. We could have had sex or whatever it is. And, you know, I'm grateful to God that it did not happen.
Mhm.
Um, but the thing that opened my eyes was I was not looking for, because as I said, it could have happened and I turned it down.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for somebody to have sex with. I wanted that emotional support where I could talk to somebody and feel safe,
Yeah.
to come home after a long day of work and, be bickering with your wife, basically, that you just got married to,
Yeah.
and so that happened for a little bit until, it was like, listen, I got to stop this. I got to try to work it out. We went through counseling and, we talked about it and, day by day, the months by, months and stuff. And, you know, it was a journey. I promise you. It was.
That's
A lot
so
of different
encouraging
feelings.
though. That's encouraging. Like that's really encouraging because we're only like 3 years in. We'll be 3 years in
Oh,
August. So to hear that, you can go through the rough patches and then still be okay afterwards is so encouraging to me.
yes.
So yeah, that's encouraging.
The thing is, like, people, because you gotta understand, like, before I got married, like when we used to talk about marriage and stuff, I would say like the only thing that's different than really having a girlfriend or a boyfriend type thing is it's really that commitment.
Yeah.
Always that is that commitment. But at the end of the day, because we all know that in my world, marriage is forever. That's what
Yeah.
I was taught, and that's what I understand. Marriage is forever. And so there was never a thought in my mind like, hey, I wanna get divorced. I wanna
Hmm.
leave. And that's the big difference um, from being a girlfriend or boyfriend. You got to stick it out.
Yeah.
You got
It's
to
a marriage.
fight.
It's a
You gotta put on them boxing gloves, and you
That's
gotta
covenant.
yeah, you gotta fight for it. And so I feel like that is what we that path that we took to say, okay, whatever comes, we gotta fight, because I know I love my wife
Yeah.
without a doubt. Like I think about it, like, and that's a big thing. Like whoever it is that you're trying to connect yourself to,
Hmm.
where marriage is concerned, you got to make sure that that person that you're planning to do, make sure it's not just off, feeling lustful or whatever it is. It's truly somebody that
Yeah.
you love.
Yeah.
Yes. Make sure
Wow.
you understand covenant, biblical principle.
Covenant.
Thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow. That just gave me goosebumps. Wow. Yeah.
That
So
Wow.
tell us the thing you love the most about your spouse.
I'll go first.
After all that, I still love them.
Okay, so the thing I love the most about my husband, the thing I love the most about you, I've told you before, is that he is very supportive. He's very helpful. I hear wives complain all the time about not having a partner who is supportive. They
Hmm.
just expect women to do and do and do.
Yeah.
But he is not the type to not do. He's
Hmm.
very hands on sometimes even more than myself.
Hmm.
And when he's hands on, what I realize about him is that it is so genuine that if it's not 100%, he is not stopping. He pulls out a lot of stops to ensure
Yeah.
that things are cherished. You feel seen, you are validated. um for example, fabric. Let's say I asked him to buy a shirt for me. Furthermore, I don't even have to ask him. He's the one who shops for me. So and he's somebody who does thread count and
Wow.
how does it feel and the material and if it looks, and I'm saying you don't have to go through all of that. Let's buy a shirt. Just get a shirt. But
Right.
he goes the extra mile. It's
Hmm.
really 100% or nothing. He would he would just do, you said do the most. Like he's just that type of a person.
I
And
love it.
yeah, and I know it's not just, oh, because you're my wife. He's just like that with everybody.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the things that I really appreciate about him, because he takes a big weight off me for somebody who does so much in the face of the public, and then with kids, and then with your 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I really appreciate having a partner that shoulders me even behind the scenes.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
I appreciate it. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
There's a lot of things I could say where my wife is concerned. I would say though, I love how strong she is.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that if I'm not around, she's able to hold things down properly. Um, I love how um, she I don't portray is the right word. I love how she present herself as a woman of God. Like, she's natural, beautiful and all that type of stuff. But also the fact that if I go left, she's trying to get me back on the right track. And that's something that stands out to me. It's beautiful to me because at the end of the day, you're getting married. You want that person to build you.
Yeah.
And I build her up. She's building me up. And so she pays attention. If she doesn't pay attention to nothing else, she pays attention to the spirit. So I have to be in line, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
I'm grateful for the fact that, hey, bruh, it looks kind of shaky. You need to step it up.
Yeah.
I don't feel no way, because at the end of the day, even when I met her, it was the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
so she's been consistent.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, what makes it so beautiful, it's good when you have a good background.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say you're going to be around perfect people, but you got people that has values and standards.
Yeah.
And also they're strong in the faith, they're strong in the Lord, and so they put that on their kids.
Mm-hmm.
And so she took it on, and it's nonstop, and I'm grateful for that. That's something that stands out to me. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. So, Anthony, do you let your wife eat off your plate?
Say again.
Do you let your wife eat off your plate? Like, you got food, she's hungry. I know you do.
Like, I definitely, and that's something, like, to be honest with you, I feel like having a family is one of the most beautiful thing, and why? Because it helps you, even if you were not that type of person. I feel like
you don't like it.
No, I refute that. Let me say this. No, I don't have a problem, because as I always told her, like, especially when you have kids,
Mm-hmm.
you got to be selfless. You got to be selfless. You got a wife or kids, you got to be selfless. So I feel like
not there yet. I'm not there yet. If she picks a piece of chicken or something off my plate, I don't want the plate anymore. I'll go get a new
He'll
one.
like go get a whole new one. He'll be like, I just want my own. I'm like, what?
I understand.
Sometimes you're like that. You say, so stick to what you want.
No, the only time I have a problem, to be honest, the only time I have a problem, I would say to her,
you chose
babe,
that.
what you want to eat? Wait, what you want to eat, right? And I said, okay, what you want to eat? She was like, okay, I want jerk chicken. And I'm like, okay. She said, what you going to get? I'm like, okay, I want fried chicken.
Mm-hmm.
So we both said, hey, this is what we're going to settle on, right? She was like, yeah. And as soon as I get mine,
she wants some.
Can I have peace?
Like,
right. Yes.
That sounds about right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only time. But outside of that, like, it's fine. Like, it's chill.
Yeah, we do share a lot.
Speaking of jerk chicken, I sure wish we could have some authentic, because I know the jerk chicken here doesn't compare to back home for you guys.
Oh no, it does not.
Wow.
A whole different
whole different side.
That's a whole different
It doesn't.
So at a restaurant, who's the one that sends the food back if it's not right?
Me. I don't play. I am not afraid of faces. So if something is not right, I am going to call somebody please take this back.
Definitely. She's the
when
one.
when
She's
he was
definitely.
scrutinized and think about it, I'm like, oh, you sure? No, send it back.
Send it back.
Even if it's
Absolutely.
his food.
Oh yes, I'll send it back for him. I'm big on customer service. Like, serve your people, right?
Right, exactly. We
So
were
if he orders his food and you eat off of it and it's not to your liking,
I'll
you're
send it
gonna send
back
it,
to him.
even if it's to his liking.
Yes, sir.
Happy
Send it
wife,
right
happy
back.
life, right?
so we was at Cracker Barrel. We went to Detroit last weekend. So we was at Cracker Barrel. The service was horrible. So I'm just standing there, and Sean, and I'm just like antsy. I'm like, oh my goodness, like
They set a party of 12
12
before
before
our
us.
party of 5. They
And so,
just
Wow.
walked in within 10 minutes and we waited almost 45 minutes to an hour. So
Wow.
I'm like, I'm a non-confrontational person. So I'm finally said, Kenya, oh, go ahead.
right. And so I'm like, so now all of a sudden you want me to go ahead now. Like, oh, okay. So now it's okay. Like, I'm like, no. So I talked to the cause and then they want to go to the car because they're like, oh, she about to act up. I'm like, no, I'm not about to act up. I'm just about to say my piece because it's like
Right.
The
so
funniest part is there was an older black lady in line with us, and she was like, I was wondering when you were going to talk to them.
because my face was saying it all. My face
Yes.
was like, oh my goodness, like I'm about to say something. But of course, he don't want me to say it. Like when we go out, he'd be like, don't say nothing. I'd be like, okay, like, all right. But now all of a sudden, because it's bothering
Yeah.
you, now you want me to say something. Okay,
Of
I
course.
got it.
Of course. That's
So
good.
before we wrap it up, tell us about MBS.
Okay, so MBSA or MBS Accelerate is my passion, my baby, as I call it. It's trauma based, which is online coaching business. Um, the thing about trauma and myself, yes, I've been there, but it was also prophetically spoken over me from I was a child. This was something that everywhere I went, people would come up to me, you are going to be serving in this way. So I had that insight before I was even a teenager. I used to get that a lot everywhere I went, strangers. Even the year we got married, we went to a conference. A janitor who was cleaning the hotel,
Oh,
she
wow.
just walked over to me with her bucket and her mop and her water in her pan, and she pulled me aside and she said, this is what you're going to do. I'm seeing
Wow.
you on the world stages. You are talking about counseling. Even before we came to the United States, 9 prophecies.
Wow.
9.
Wow.
Since we've been here, another set. So I always knew this was going to be what I'm going to be serving in. Now, Mind, Body, Spirit Accelerate is a faith-based trauma healing and recovery and relationship online business where I help women to heal childhood trauma, because that was my experience and how it hindered relationship. So I help them to heal childhood trauma so that they can participate in healthy, safe, satisfying relationships. And even if you're not married, adult relationships, before you enter into marriage, because that is where the final piece is. When you do get married, you can't look back. So how do you enter in before you actually say I do? So I am really big on that. That is what the business, the ministry is about. We're helping women, kingdom women, even if you're not kingdom, to heal before you get into these relationships and even marriages. So we do have a signature program that's 3 months. We have master classes, we have courses, we have one-on-one, and we've really been seeing the Lord really pour into this business where people are being healed, prophetic words are being given, instructions, confirmations for the next stages of people's lives. The beautiful thing is, it has also afforded us as a couple traveling opportunities where we can go to different states and minister and host events. So God has really been good, and we're just walking in this season as He leads, because the platform is really is for people to be led back to Him.
That's amazing.
And
Were you about to say something, Anthony?
Oh no, no.
Oh, that is really amazing. We're gonna talk a little more about that once we end the live.
Okay.
So everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Kenya had to step off. She's nursing the baby. You know, we have a 3-month-old. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
nice.
Thank you everyone for joining us. This has been another week of the Love Project, and we'll see you back next week with another wonderful couple.
All right.